This ridiculous little short video of Johnny Depp speaking nonsense popped up on my YouTube wall, so I wanted to address it because it's something that's related issues have been going through my mind a lot recently and have been for years now, off and on. So I'm just going to play it and then I will tell you why it's bullshit.
After your funeral, in just a few short hours, the crying will fade away and your family will be busy making arrangements for food or drinks. Some of your relatives will start discussing current events over coffee, while others will call to say they can't make it in person due to an emergency. Your employer will begin searching for your replacement. In a few days, your children will return to work because their bereavement leave has run out. In a month, your spouse might find themselves watching a comedy on TV and start to laugh, reflecting on how quickly life moves on. You'll be forgotten at an astonishing pace. If people can forget you so easily, then who are you living your life for? You spent your whole life worrying about what others think of you, but the sad truth is that they don't think about you as much as you imagine. So live your life for yourself. Remember, life is too short to be lived for others' approval. Embrace your true self and make your own happiness a priority. If you've watched this far, drop a 100 and hit the...
Oh, shut up. So first of all, that's not true. Assuming you've made real, deep connections with other people, and assuming those people were not highly narcissistic, you will not be forgotten. It's been years since I lost my daughter, and she was a baby. She died before she even took her first breath. And I don't think a day goes by that I don't think about her, or the loss of her, or the entire ordeal I went through losing her, or how unfair it is for both she and I that she died. It's been an even longer period of time since I lost my dad. And I won't say I think about him every day, but I think about him quite frequently. A lot of things remind me of my dad. A lot of things make me wish that I still had my dad around to talk to. Yeah, you shouldn't be expecting that people are going to wail and cry every day, all day long for the rest of their lives that you're dead. That suggests a level of narcissism if you're expecting that. But again, assuming you've made deep, meaningful connections with others, people aren't going to just totally forget about you. And the deeper and more meaningful the connection, and the more you meant to that person, the more frequently they will remember you and think about you and wish that they had you still. So when it comes to Johnny Depp here, now consider the source, first of all. Now, I did not stay totally on. I know people were just like riveted with the whole ordeal between Johnny Depp and his wife, Amber Heard, I believe her name was. For a while there, I'm sure you can all agree that it was hard to even escape the entire drama of that. I mean, it was just everywhere. And so even though I didn't really care, I still heard stuff here and there about it on both sides, both ends. But some of the stuff that I heard from Amber Heard on her side stuck with me because it reminded me of relationships I've had with past boyfriends who were narcissists. And one of the things that really rang a bell for me was when she described anytime they would get into an argument, he didn't seem capable of being in an argument. He would just kind of like put the kibosh on the whole thing and like go into the next room. Like he'd seem totally incapable of handling any kind of conflict. Which doesn't surprise me if you look into in any way, give any thought to the relationship Johnny Depp had with his mother. That sounded like a very unhealthy relationship. Apparently, when she would get angry and upset, she would just fly off the handle and do like really crazy things. I'm not saying the stuff that I heard Amber Heard did wasn't crazy stuff. It was crazy, but there should be a level of being able to tolerate and deal with arguments. And things should not get physical. There shouldn't be any physical violence, but you should be allowing you should at least have a thick enough skin to deal with voices being raised and some yelling. That is going to happen. That's a healthy relationship, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Two people in a relationship together, particularly over a long period of time, there should be some conflict. And I think even Jordan Peterson says this, that like a relationship won't last if there isn't a certain amount of conflict. He says it in a different way, but just kind of and my own broad sweeping summing up. A relationship won't last if it's all just happy, joy, fun times, and there's no conflict or fighting. But also, it won't last if there's just too much fighting. So somebody who just can't handle conflict, that's not handling conflict, him just shutting down every disagreement and shutting down every time she gets worked up a little bit and upset and starts to raise her voice, him just shutting that shit down and walking away, or wanting to handle it like a robot, I'm going to give my opinions about what's going on, and then you give your opinions about what's going on, and we're going to do this in a very measured, thought out, debating type of way. Like, that's not a relationship. That's not healthy. Again, there should be a level of, you should have a thick enough skin to be able to handle your significant other once in a while. Having a bad day, a bad week, some shit went down at work, and then you did something that gets on their nerves repeatedly, maybe something they've repeatedly asked you not to do, like, I don't know, leave the towel on the floor, whatever, and it all came to a head, and now they're yelling at you. You should be able to handle that and keep rolling, or it's not gonna, or you can't handle conflict and you can't handle a relationship. What Johnny Depp was doing was avoiding conflict. He wasn't handling conflict. He was just wholesale avoiding it. Again, likely because that's what he learned to do when dealing with his mother. He would probably just, distance himself from her when she started getting crazy and flying off the handle. So consider the source. Perhaps Johnny Depp won't have many people crying for him or remembering him for very long. I mean, other than, to watch his movies. Because perhaps he does not form very deep, meaningful relationships with people. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wholesale avoids any kind of conflict with anybody. So people will remember you, but you should not expect them to just constantly think about you. Again, assuming that you don't surround yourself with psychopaths and sociopaths and highly narcissistic people. And it is not an excuse to just live only for yourself. It's absolutely not. So, I know, for example, people will move on pretty quickly after I'm dead. My sisters, I practically have no relationship with them as it stands. They are completely wrapped up in their kids, as it should be. And we differ on how they raise their kids. I have some pretty strong opinions about that, and so they want to talk to me even less. My mother, she just told me the other day that I should go ahead and kill myself. Actually, just like 2-3 days ago, because I was tearful and over the phone and telling her how I can't do this anymore. I can't be alone anymore. I'm capable of being alone for very long periods of time. I've done that for very long periods of time, but nobody is meant to be alone all the time for years and years and years. It's just not how we're built. And she has very little time or patience or energy to deal with emotional anything. She's very much like Johnny Depp in that way. Unless she's the one having the emotional outburst, she has no energy or time or patience for anyone else's emotional outbursts. She never has had that kind of patience, and so she just loses her shit and just goes like, fine, just do it. And that's certainly not the first time that she's told me something along those lines. many, many, many times actually over the course of my lifetime, she has suggested that I should just kill myself. So I've been thinking recently maybe I should just take her advice. So yeah, my mom's not going to give a shit. I don't have a spouse to give a shit. I don't have any living children who will be affected. Basically, the only ones who will be affected by my death is I don't even really have an employer at the moment. My last job shut down recently in October. They decided to retire. I'm door dashing right now, basically, and they don't. DoorDash isn't going to give a shit. Like, nobody's going to care. Like, I understand all of that. That doesn't make me want to just live for me. And also think about the fact that, what kind of life is it? You know, people have to work double overtime just to be able to afford the basics of living anymore. We barely have any downtime to ourselves, to spend any of that meaningful time with our loved ones.